Emma, we need your room. My mother's voice was cold, calculated, devoid of any maternal warmth. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been working on financial algorithms late into the night. What? Your sister, Sophia, is moving back home with her MBA from Stanford. She needs a proper workspace, and your room has the best lighting. My mother's eyes swept dismissively over my simple desk setup. You can sleep in this basement until you find your own place. I was 24, living at home while working remotely as a financial analyst. Not my dream situation, but I was saving money and building something bigger. Not that my family knew or cared about my plans. The basement isn't even finished, I protested, thinking of the damp concrete floors and exposed pipes. It's not livable. Well, my father interjected, entering my room uninvited. Maybe that will motivate you to do something meaningful with your life, like your sister. Ah, yes, Sophia, the golden child, the Stanford graduate, the one who just accepted a position as a junior executive at Goldman Sachs, a job our parents' connections had conveniently secured for her. I have a job, I said quietly, though I knew it was useless. My position as a remote analyst for a small fintech startup meant nothing to them, especially compared to Sophia's prestigious corporate title. Playing with numbers on your laptop isn't a real job, my mother scoffed. Your sister needs this space to prepare for her future. She's going places, Emma. She can't work in some cramped guest room. I looked around at my room, my sanctuary since childhood. The walls were covered in mathematical formulas and coding diagrams, representations of the algorithms I'd been developing in secret. My family saw a messy display of incomprehensible scribblings. They had no idea they were looking at the foundation of what would become one of the most sophisticated financial trading systems in the world. I'll find my own place, I said, turning back to my laptop. Not because I was giving in, but because I finally had enough. 3 years of dismissal and degradation while I quietly built my empire was enough. You have until tomorrow, my father announced. Sophia's movers are coming at noon. The irony almost made me laugh. They had no idea what else was happening tomorrow. The empire they never saw. Later that night, as I packed my belongings into boxes, my phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Lucas, my chief technology officer. Phoenix Protocol is ready. All systems go for tomorrow's launch. I smiled, thinking about the chaos that would unfold in less than 24 hours. For 3 years, I'd been developing a revolutionary trading algorithm that could predict market movements with unprecedented accuracy. My playing with numbers had evolved into Quantum Financial Technologies, a company that operated entirely in the shadows through a complex web of shell corporations. While my family bragged about Sophia's corporate job, I had built a financial technology empire worth billions. The small fintech startup I supposedly worked for, a front company, my real office occupied the top 5 floors of a downtown skyscraper, hidden behind layers of corporate anonymity. And tomorrow, Quantum Financial would emerge from the shadows, launching a trading platform that would revolutionize the banking industry, the same industry where my sister had just landed her prestigious position. Another message buzzed through. First phase complete. Quantum's acquisition of Pacific Trust Bank is confirmed. All accounts transfer at midnight. Pacific Trust Bank, my parents' bank, the one where they kept their precious millions, the money they used to fund Sophia's education, all while telling me I needed to prove my worth before they'd invest in my future. By tomorrow morning, they'd discover who really controlled their money. The final night, I sealed the last box just as Sophia's voice echoed up the stairs. Mom, the interior decorator needs to know my color scheme for Emma's room. My room. I shook my head, remembering all the times they'd made it clear whose success mattered more. When I graduated top of my class in computer science from Caltech on a full scholarship I'd earned myself, they skipped the ceremony because Sophia had a sorority event. When I landed my first coding job, they dismissed it as playing with computers during the same dinner where they celebrated Sophia making the Stanford Business Review editorial board. "Emma," my mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Don't forget to leave your keys. You won't be needing them anymore." I pulled out my keychain and removed the house key, placing it on my old desk. I wouldn't need it after tomorrow. I'd never need anything from them again. As I carried my boxes to my car, I heard them in the kitchen, planning Sophia's room renovation. "We'll need to redo everything," my mother was saying. "This space needs to reflect success, not whatever Emma was doing in here." I loaded the last box and sat in my car, watching the house I'd grown up in, the house where I'd learned that family loyalty only extended to those who fit their definition of success. Opening my laptop one last time, I sent a final command to our servers: "Initialize Protocol Phoenix, authorization, Quantum Alpha 1. The response was immediate. Protocol Phoenix initiated. System-wide implementation in 8 hours. I started my car, not the luxury vehicle my parents expected of a successful daughter, but another part of my carefully maintained facade. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, they'd learn what real success looked like. But first, they'd learn what it felt like to be powerless. The reckoning. The next evening, I arrived at La Perle, their favorite restaurant for family celebrations, precisely on time. I wore a simple black dress that probably cost more than Sophia's monthly salary at Goldman Sachs. Through the restaurant's windows, I could see my family already seated at their usual table, champagne flowing freely as they celebrated their golden child's latest achievement. My phone buzzed with updates from Lucas. Protocol Phoenix successfully deployed, all systems performing beyond expectations. Pacific Trust Bank's ownership transfer is complete. I smiled, tucking my phone away as I entered the restaurant. The maitre d' recognized me immediately, not as Emma from the Harper family, but as Ms. Harper, owner of the building that housed La Perle. "Your usual table is ready, Miss Harper," he said softly, then caught himself as I shook my head slightly, gesturing toward my family's table. "Not tonight, Pierre. I'm joining them." I approached the table just as Sophia was detailing her new office view. 48th floor, corner office overlooking Central Park. "Emma." My mother's voice carried a note of surprise, as if she hadn't expected me to actually show up. "We already ordered. You should have been here earlier." "I had some business to attend to," I replied, taking the only empty seat at the far end of the table. "Business?" Sophia smirked. "Is that what you call moving your things to a friend's couch?" My father barely glanced up from his phone, where he was probably checking his stock portfolio. "Did you at least find somewhere decent to stay? We don't want you reflecting poorly on the family name." Before I could respond, Sophia launched into another story about her new position. The CEO himself showed me around. He says I have real potential to make director within 5 years. Speaking of directors, I interjected calmly. "Did you hear about the changes at Pacific Trust Bank?" My father finally looked up, his brow furrowing. "Changes? What changes?" Just then, a waiter approached with more champagne. My mother reached for her purse. "Let's order another bottle to celebrate properly. My treat." I watched as she handed over her credit card, knowing exactly what would happen next. The waiter returned moments later, looking uncomfortable. "I apologize, madam, but your card appears to be declined." "That's impossible," my mother snapped. "Try it again." "I've tried 3 times, madam." "Perhaps another card?" My father pulled out his wallet. "Use mine." The waiter disappeared again, only to return with the same apologetic expression. "I'm very sorry, sir. This one is also declined." Sophia rolled her eyes and reached for her new Goldman Sachs corporate card. "Here, let me—" "That won't work either," I said quietly. All eyes turned to me. "What do you mean?" my father demanded. I took a slow sip of water. As I was saying, about Pacific Trust Bank, there have been some significant changes in ownership. As of midnight last night, all accounts are under new management. My mother's face paled. "What are you talking about?" Protocol Phoenix, I said, watching comprehension slowly dawn on my father's face. He'd been in banking long enough to have heard whispers of the revolutionary trading system launching today. That's impossible, he whispered. Protocol Phoenix is Quantum Financial's new system, the one that's supposed to revolutionize banking, the one that just acquired Pacific Trust. I smiled. The very same. Sophia looked between us, confused. What does this have to do with our cards not working? Quantum Financial's system has flagged several suspicious activities in your accounts, I explained calmly. Creative accounting, hidden trust funds, questionable transfers. Standard procedure in such cases is to freeze all associated accounts, pending investigation. My father's face had turned an interesting shade of red. How do you know all this? Because, I said, finally letting my carefully maintained facade drop, I designed the system. I am Quantum Financial Technologies. The silence that followed was deafening. That's ridiculous, Sophia finally sputtered. You work for some tiny startup. A cover, I replied. Quantum operates through dozens of shell companies. That tiny startup is just one of many. We employ over 4,000 people across 18 countries. And as of today, we control most of your banking infrastructure. My mother's hands began to shake. But you're just what, Mom? Just the daughter you kicked out? Just the one who was playing with numbers on her laptop? Just a disappointment? I pulled out my own card, black, unmarked except for a small Quantum logo, and handed it to the hovering waiter. The champagne is on me. In fact, everything I've ordered here for the past 5 years has been on me. I bought this building 3 years ago. The waiter nodded respectfully. Yes, Ms. Harper. Harper? My father choked out. Emma Harper? You're Emma Harper? I nodded. The very same, though unsurprised you never made the connection. Too busy following Sophia's corporate career path to notice what I was building. Sophia's face had drained of all color. The merger, Goldman's new trading platform partnership, is with Quantum? Yes, I said. You'll be using my technology, assuming you keep your position. Though given the irregularities Protocol Phoenix has already identified in your department's trading patterns, I wouldn't count on that. My mother reached across the table, her voice desperate. Emma, darling, surely we can discuss this. We're family. Family? I stood up slowly, looking at each of them in turn. Family doesn't kick someone out of their home to make room for the favorite child. Family doesn't dismiss achievements because they don't fit a predetermined mold of success. Family doesn't ignore graduation because someone else's sorority event is more important. I picked up my purse, genuine alligator, worth more than my father's car. Your accounts will remain frozen pending a full investigation. Given what my system has already uncovered, I'd expect calls from the SEC within the week. You can't do this, my father growled, but his voice lacked conviction. I already have. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Sophia? I hear the basement has great lighting this time of year, in case you need somewhere to stay. The walk to my car was the longest and most satisfying of my life. Behind me, I could hear my mother's sobs, my father's angry muttering, and Sophia's complete silence. My phone buzzed, another update from Lucas. Stock market's response to Protocol Phoenix is unprecedented. Quantum's value has tripled since opening bell. I smiled, thinking of the room they'd so eagerly taken from me. The space they thought was wasted on my playing with numbers. That room had been where I'd written the first lines of code for what would become a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Epilogue. The aftermath. The next few weeks brought changes no one in my family could have predicted. The SEC investigation revealed years of financial misconduct at my father's firm. Sophia's department at Goldman Sachs underwent a complete restructuring, her position eliminated in the process. My mother's social circle evaporated as quickly as their frozen assets. And me? I kept building, growing, expanding, not to prove anything to them anymore, but because I'd discovered something they never understood. True success isn't about corner offices or prestigious titles. It's about creating something meaningful, something that changes the world. These days, when people ask about my path to success, I tell them the truth. Sometimes being kicked out of your home is the push you need to build your own empire. And sometimes the best revenge isn't serving it cold. It's letting them watch as you rise higher than they ever could. As for my old room, I hear they repainted it. Pity they couldn't afford to keep the house.